Because this wood is soaking wet and green, you just gotta do what MC Hammer used to say, and that's hammer time! Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tim. This is another Real Ideal Gear review, and today we're looking at the IX&DAO diver, the X02T. This is a titanium diver from AliExpress, and obviously it's an homage. And this watch is in that $200 range. This might be one of the best $200 watches that you're going to find on AliExpress. That's also a titanium case, bracelet, clasp, PT5000, high beat movement. I know San Martin's got a great titanium model like this as well, but I really think this IX&DAO diver is up there when it comes down to value, qualities, craftsmanship. The bracelet on here is surprisingly good. So let's go through the 5 things we typically go through: size, fitment, finish, accuracy, and then legibility and lume. All right, let's start off with size. So the size of this watch is kind of your typical dive watch. It is 39 millimeters across, 11.5 millimeters up off the wrist, and then a 21 millimeter between the lug measurement. So almost perfect scores as far as the dimensions of this watch goes, because that 21 millimeter, you know, it's kind of that hangnail out there right now. There's a lot of strap options out there in the 21 millimeter range, but I think why not 20? Why not 22? But it's 21. So overall size of this watch I think is great. The weight of this watch, of course, is titanium, so there's no issues with the weight whatsoever. This is actually a very lightweight diver watch. The crown size is great. It's very grippy. It's the perfect size for me as far as the overall height. Sometimes when you get a thin watch, you start to get a very small diameter crown. So in this sense, I think it's probably the biggest crown that they're going to get without encroaching on the bezel, and then also not getting too big for the case itself or the height of the case off the wrist. So overall size and dimensions of this watch, I really like them, except for that 21 millimeter between the lugs strap change kind of option thing. So let's start with fitment. Fitment on this watch is really good. Screw-in links. You have a nice milled scissor clasp in the back. I think they did a great job on that. Double pushers. You also have 3 micro adjusts, which means you have 2 adjustments to actually make on the watch, which is not my favorite. I would prefer to have 4, and then you have 3 available that you can move around. But on this watch, it is 3 and 2. So, but overall, the fitment of this watch is great. Kind of the typical fitment you're going to get off of a bracelet-style dive watch. Nothing unusual, nothing spectacular either way. But I will say this about, and we're going to jump right into the finish. The finish of this bracelet is really good. When you look at the articulation of this bracelet, it is just butter smooth. There is no pinching. There is nothing that gets stuck. The bracelet itself, they did a really good job when it came down to milling this titanium bracelet. It's one of the best titanium bracelets I've come across. I've got, let's see, what do I have? I have a Signum. I've got a Bernie. I've got this. I got a couple other titaniums as well. But this bracelet is just outstanding. That was what shocked me the most, was just how smooth, buttery smooth that bracelet is on the wrist. So finishing wise on this watch, you have a titanium case, bracelet, clasp. You get that kind of darker steel look, just inherent to titanium, type 2 titanium. Is it more inherent to scratches? Probably. I haven't seen that as much as, I don't think it's hugely different from stainless steel, but certainly it does have those scratches. I think part of it is it's a darker metal look, and so those scratches tend to stand out a little bit more. Brushed steel all the way around, or brushed titanium that is, all the way around. Great look. I love the darker titanium look anyway. So as far as preference goes, I like the look of this watch. Now the bezel, let's take a look at this bezel. This bezel is incredible. Now you can get this bezel with minute markers all the way around, or you can get it like I have, where it's the first 15 minutes, and then after that it's 5-minute increment marks on the bezel. I prefer the 5-minute increment marks because I think it's just less busy. I don't think it's as crowded looking. It's up to you, but that is an option that you have when looking at this watch and purchasing the watch. Now the color is awesome because the color has this multiple layers of different shades of blue. There's a little bit of a lighter blue on the bezel. Then you have this darker sunburst blue on the dial, and so depending on the angle of the light, you get that, you know, obviously bright sunburst look on the dial, but it fades off into black, and you can see that on the photos and videos here. But when you move that dial around, you really do get a good sense of just the sunburst effect on this watch, and just a great looking color, very 3D feel to the watch when it comes down to the colors. The handset is a whiteout handset, so I really like the fact that you get this kind of almost black dial, a little bit of sunburst blue in there as well. Very bright handset, very bright hour indices on there. Fantastic looking setup on the dial as far as the finishing. Not a lot of print in there. The markers in there are just, I don't know, they're just so well done. They stand out so well. Again, $200 watch. I'm not looking for anything spectacular in here, but at the same time, I looked at this and really the focus is on the dial. You know, keep your eyes where they're supposed to be. That's what she says. But you keep your eyes where they're supposed to be, which is on the dial, not on the bracelet, not on the case, and it just stays right, I think, where it's appropriate on this watch. Now, one of the things I don't like about the finishing of this watch is on the lugs. So I'm going to point this out as best I can on the camera here. But the very end of these lugs are sharp, sharper than they should be. I'm going to probably take a Dremel tool and file this down just a little bit. But the sharpness of that is just unnecessary. They should have caught that in quality control or something. But if you get your finger on the inside of that, it does catch. And I tried this on the wrist where I took the watch head case and I pushed down on it a little bit more into my wrist on one side more than the other. And I could feel a little something in there. Not a huge thing. I'm not like drawing blood or anything like that. But it's just a little sharper than I think it should be. So I might just take, I don't know, maybe an emery cloth or a Dremel tool and just barely touch it up so that it doesn't have quite as sharp a point on the end of the lug. Overall, finishing this watch is great. I really, really like the finishing of the watch. Again, the crown, the bezel. The bezel action is good. It's a 60 click bezel, not my favorite bezel style as far as clicks go. I like the 120, but it's a 60 click bezel, which goes along with it being an homage as well. There is some back play with it, not a lot, but there's some back play in there. Is it a little mushy? It's kind of on that Seiko side as far as the action goes on the bezel, but you can hear it's pretty good. It's fine with me. It doesn't move around too easily either. That's one of my concerns. I love the coin edge texture on the edge of the bezel as well. I think that is a great finishing touch. I just love the coin edge texture on the bezel or on a crown or the knurling on a crown. I just think it's not really rough on the fingers unless you have a very stiff bezel. The clicks in the bezel are really stiff. Then you might want to have a little bit more texture on there, but this is perfect for the way that it operates. So finishing on this I think is really good. Is it excellent? You know, it's titanium. There's not a lot of flash to this watch. This is kind of more of a work style watch. So when you look at this watch, you're looking at a watch that really has that titanium kind of a darker gray silver tone to it. It just has that work watch feel to it, a dive watch feel. I wouldn't say that this watch gets into the dress category as far as watches go or formal watch. This is probably semi-formal, for sure professional, casual, and even work watch. I'm going to be wearing this for a work watch, partly because sapphire crystal, great bezel. I think it's a ceramic bezel. I'll go double check that and put that in the video here below so you have that right away. So this is definitely going to be in my work watch inventory for next summer, or this summer actually, and when I get back into the lawn mowing maintenance side of things and the snow melts and the weather warms up. So yeah, that's as far as finish goes. I like it. I think it's really well done. Now, accuracy. This is a PT5000 movement, and I put this thing through the wringer. I actually ran this harder than I ran most of my other. Matter of fact, I don't think any of my other mechanical watches have gone through what I put this through, which was splitting firewood for well over 20 minutes straight. I've got some video here. I've also got some instructional tutorial pieces to it. If you've split wood before, or if you're new to splitting wood, I've got some techniques that I use when it comes down to the really big, 18-inch diameter or larger rounds. So, but I put that through the test on splitting wood with a splitting maul, and no change on the time grapher. That is key. I think that is something that I was not expecting that to necessarily be the case, but it turned out to be the case, and I'm really pleased with that. High beat movement, accuracy-wise, within spec. This is just, I'm really happy with the PT5000 movement. Now, what about legibility and lume? So the legibility of this watch is really good. You've got that high contrast white indices, white out handset. You've got that dial that's kind of a darker looking dial. It has a little sunburst to it, so it lightens up a little bit here and there, but the contrast on this is incredible. And so I really like that. I think the bezel also has enough contrast. There's enough of a blue there to really contrast with the white markers on the bezel. So that's great as well. Now, what about lume? Incredible lume. Take a look at this video of the lume. Now, this is lume that lasts all night. And actually, this lume is on par with the Wise Adamascus AD8. So if you're familiar with that watch, it is a popular watch on YouTube when it comes down to the overall brightness and longevity of lume. This watch is right on its heels. I mean, really close to, I think, having the same or a very similar standard of output when it comes down to lume. I love it. I think this is, I actually have chosen to wear this watch at night because of the lume that it provides overnight. So great, great lume. 200 meters of water resistance. Where would I wear this watch? Absolutely a work watch. Sapphire crystal. It has a lower profile anyway, so I'm not as concerned about it. You know, if I had a Casio that was in that 13, 14, maybe 15 millimeter range off the wrist, I'd be concerned about that mineral crystal, making sure I had some like mineral crystal guards around it, you know, just to protect it from being scratched up so much. Not the case with this one. This one, the proportions are ideal. I love the proportions of this watch. Sapphire crystal, great bezel. Titanium, it's lightweight. This is definitely a work watch. Could I wear it for casual, even office use, professional use? Absolutely. You know, it has that homage look to it, so absolutely, I think a professional look would be, you know, right in line with that. Is it formal or a dress watch? No, it's not there. It's all brushed. You have that kind of gray titanium look to it anyway. Not a lot of flash to it, so I don't think the formal dressy side is going to work for that as well. But I just think this is really, I'm looking forward to wearing this watch a lot this upcoming mowing season. So I think that's really where this is going to stand out. Positives on this watch, obviously, is the legibility, the lume, high beat movement that's been performing really well. I'm surprised that I didn't get any change in the time grapher when I put this on. Same readout I had before as I did after. And again, I spent over 20 minutes splitting wood, and I was hammering on that wood. That video, if you watched it, really demonstrates that I'm using a 12-pound splitting maul on really punky, wet cottonwood rounds, which are known to be stringy and knotty. So this watch was getting hammered as I was splitting wood. So it handled it just fine. The downside to this really are the lugs. 3 micro adjusts rather than having 4, because with 3 micro adjusts, you only have 2 options to adjust, and I'm just not a fan of that either. And last but not least, it's the 21 millimeter between the lugs. No need for that. Overall score for this is 9.7 out of 10. Highly recommend this watch. I think if you're looking for this homage or this style of watch off of AliExpress, I highly recommend this. I think the bracelet was a huge surprise as far as the quality and the articulation in the bracelet. Fits really well. Not a lot of movement on this bracelet. So I don't think this is going to be any kind of a hair puller for most anybody. It isn't for me, so to me that works out great. So again, 9.7 out of 10, highly, highly recommend. So don't forget to check out my store, realidealgear.com. That's where I put some of these reviewed watches on there for sale. I can't keep them all, so some of the ones that just don't quite strike the chord with me overall as some other watches do, I'll put those up there. I think they're a great value, great deal on many of them as well. Casios are on there all the way up to limited edition models from Zelos. So check it out, realidealgear.com. And thank you for watching this video. My name's Tim. This has been another Real Ideal Gear review. We'll catch you guys next time. All right, the PT5000. This was the watch that I was putting through the gauntlet a little bit here by splitting some wood with it. Not something I typically do with a mechanical watch, but it's a PT5000 movement. I wanted to see what this watch would do under some duress, and I think this watch really performed well. I don't see any issues with it. It seems to be having this. It's the same time as my other watches. It's only been an hour since I've stopped, so not an issue when it comes down to this whole thing. It's about an hour, I guess. I have to go back and look at the time stamps on here, but I think it's about an hour since I stopped. So no issues as far as like the time actually changing significantly. I've noticed no time change actually. So scratch the significantly part. I think this watch made it through in flying colors. So kudos on the PT5000. I'm all right with it. PT5000. Right here, we're going to test out the PT5000 on splitting wood. There we go. Bust a move, baby. I'm going to show you something. When you're cutting a big half like this, right here, shave off triangle here, block, triangle, you get two blocks, and a triangle, you get pieces that are shaped like this. Where's a good one? Right here's a good one. Okay, there's a block. There was a pie piece on this side over here, probably another block or a pie piece over there. So when you're doing this, take this off, block, block, and you've got yourself easy stacking coming up. Get you all set back up here. All right, so I'm going to cut the other corner off this one. And you end up with a block, just like that. You get your smaller pieces for starting the fire, bigger pieces for the nighttime. Corner, this is cottonwood, so it's all over the place. This grain is like a kindergartner trying to scribble on a piece of paper. Make a block out of this. There we go. Block, weird, but I'm going to take that off. It's be hard to get in the stove. Try it again. There we go. All right, and this was that was the piece on the end. There you go. PT5000 doing all right, I think. It's still moving, still ticking. Let's try one of these one hit wonders. All this stuff is green and wet and thawed. Something else I forgot to mention, when you're cutting off these corners like this, bring this guy back out. When you're cutting off these corners and you've got the other half over here, you're only cutting this amount of wood right here. There's a lot of energy that pushes this piece off. The other piece absorbs a lot of energy, so this is the one that's going to fly. Then you hit the piece on the inside of that, this guy right here, and again, you're not splitting the entire thing in half. You're just doing a chunk this big. So splitting is actually easier when you take it off in bites like that, rather than cut it in half, you know, half. You're always doing halves. Get it in half, shave off the corners, work your blocks in the middle on those really big pieces. So that really big piece, I got 8 pieces of wood out of that, 4 in each half. Still hammering the PT5000. Give it a good workout. These are one-hit wonders right here. I say that, I'm probably gonna not do it on this one. Gotcha. That's a good overnight piece right there. When you're making firewood, think of 3 stages: starting, maintaining, and your long term. Once you split it like this, you just have to drop it, control it. Don't have to swing hard. That's where all the pieces come flying out and hit your face or your camera, if you're into that sort of thing. So, strategy, for those of you not splitting wood before, wherever you see branches, you go in between them. So I'm going to split through here. Okay? Also, that's a no-no right there. That was a branch that was further up the tree. So I'm going to avoid that spot. So if you see me looking at the piece of wood, I'm trying to navigate all the knots and the stuff I can see, which in this case, I'm going to go right next to this guy right here. I'm going to cut it right here. Just so you can see it. I'm going to cut it right through here. Should be one hit. Should have been. There you go. Not bad. A little bit of a bend in there, but not bad. Okay. I'm going to do, a lot of times I'll leave one in half and then cut the other one in half. One bigger piece, two smaller. Okay, a lot of energy going through that small piece of wood, so it doesn't take much. All right, PT5000, let's roll. Oh yeah. Yeah, baby. Okay. If you're watching my channel, you know I take pictures on wood, like these chunks of wood. It's a great backdrop. It's close to that neutral gray for photographers. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm starting to split up the wood that I'm using for my backdrop. I have to go out and cut more wood. Okay. Big fella. 2 big knots up top, right? Like, this is upside down, but this looks like a bear. Ear and the ear, nose, mouth, right? Upside down. So I'm splitting right down the middle. Also, when the wood starts to dry out, it'll start to crack. So if you find a crack, go with it, because that's a natural seam that is starting to pull apart. Because this wood is soaking wet and green, you just gotta do what MC Hammer used to say, and that's hammer time. We're gonna go right between them. That's it. And just hammer away. Oh my goodness. There we go. Hammer time. Little knot down here at the bottom. little something irregular. That's where things get hairy, especially in cottonwood, because that's the sign of a really big thing on a big piece like this. Those things don't get smaller, they get bigger. So I'm going to avoid this. Now, because I got this knot over here, I'm not going to be able to block out more than one block. I can get, on this one, I'm going to cut through here, wedge, block, and a large wedge. That's the plan. There we go. So 2 hits. This was the first hit. Nice block. This was the second hit right here. Came off like that. Right like that. Okay. So let the wood tell you what to do. Otherwise, you're going to get huge and muscular, because you're going to spend all day hitting wood. Oh yeah. All right, plan on this guy, and we'll wrap it up. Okay, something funky here. Cut off this piece. Same plan, I'm gonna cut this one off. It's sneaking over a little bit more, so this is gonna be a smaller block. I may just chip off the end here, hit this piece here. You get two nice big pieces out of this one. All right, there's the big one. Missed. Okay, so here they are. Well, let's see, how'd that work? Something like that. Yeah, just like that. Okay, a little too far in. I wanted this piece bigger. That's a good overnight piece. Knots take a long time to burn. Also, you get a little more sap out of there, so they're full of good stuff.